Hey guys, Ben here and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the CW. We're going to be talking about the one remaining show. So if you do go on to enjoy the video, please be sure to leave a like and a comment and subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future videos later this year. So as we all know, the CW is not in a good situation right now, but this has been something I've been thinking about for a while and I wanted to address it in a video to actually talk about this one show that could survive. So obviously we know we got Superman Lois. It's ending this year after season 4, which is going to be premiering in the fall. We don't have a release date yet, but we know it's coming on Thursdays at 8 PM in America. So that will run for, I guess, the 10 episodes, which will be like 10 weeks plus, depending on if they have any breaks or not. And so that will be the end of Superman Lois. And also recently it was just announced that Walker has been cancelled. There will be no other seasons of Walker. The current season right now will be the final season. And so that means that's 2 less shows that were there under the previous regime that was run by Mark Pedowitz. So what are the 2 final shows remaining? So the 2 final shows are All American and All American Homecoming. So that is the original show and the spin-off show. So it doesn't look like the spin-off show is going to be continuing. There has been no official announcement yet, but I think it's safe to assume that is probably not going to be saved. And that's because Nexstar has found a way of creating and buying shows like Wildcards, which are super cheap, and they have lots of reality shows which they buy for cheap and then they put on the network, and you know, get some like half decent numbers compared to the shows that are running that are more expensive. So All American Homecoming, just like Superman Lois, just like Walker, are much more expensive than the other shows that the CW has been picking up from, you know, different distributors around the world. And so with that in mind, let's talk about why I think All American could survive what's going on at the CW right now. And so this is because All American falls under the CW's former agreement with Netflix. I'm going to be reading a little bit from this Forbes article, which I'll leave a link to in the description below, because this is very important, and this is one of the reasons why the CW was able to go on for such a long time, and why the Arrowverse was actually in a good place for a very long time until 2019, and I'll tell you why things changed. So All American falls under CW's former agreement with Netflix, which means the 6th season will likely drop on the streaming service 8 days after the season finale. So the current season of All American is still running right now. They just had the 100th episode, so it's been going for a long time, guys. Like, All American has been around for a very long time, and it's been in the midst of all of this chaos, but also it was part of that older regime that had, you know, the Arrowverse, Riverdale and Dynasty and all those other shows that were very popular back in the day. But the article continues by saying, in 2016, the CW signed a deal with Netflix stipulating that its series, and I'm talking about all of its primetime series, so that includes all the Arrowverse shows, that includes Riverdale and All American, plus other shows, that its series would premiere on the streaming platform 8 days after their respective season finales on live TV. And so this was the deal, and it was a very lucrative deal because Netflix has a lot of money. They realized the Arrowverse was very popular, they realized Riverdale was super popular, and they wanted the rights to get those shows and actually put them live on their streaming service after the season finale. So that means once the finale would air of, say, The Flash, you would wait 8 days and then you would go over to Netflix and the whole season would be there, and it would be like the perfect opportunity for Netflix to kind of build that audience as, you know, the CW prepared the new seasons, and so it would just kind of boost engagement for the next season. Plus it was very lucrative for the CW because they made a good deal with Netflix and they got a decent amount of money, and that was the only time that the CW was really making money. And so the CW president at the time, Mark Pedowitz, called this strategy the Netflix bump, in which audiences discovered new shows like Riverdale and All American and boosted their ratings leading into the next season. So that is very true, and that is something that we've missed for a long time. Now, I'll get into why this actually changed, but it was a big bump, and clearly Mark Pedowitz at the time and the CW thought, this was a really good opportunity for them to grow their shows, but also get a little bit of money back for the shows that they are creating. So although the CW decided not to renew the licensing agreement in 2019 when it was up for renewal, some shows still fall under the former deal, including All American. Now we'll get into that in a second, but the important thing to point out here is that the CW didn't renew their licensing agreement in 2019 with Netflix. So what that meant was, after 2019, any show that was created, like Superman Lois, it was created after 2019, it would not go to Netflix after the season would finish airing, and instead it would go to HBO Max, which was owned by Warner Brothers. So this was a huge deal at the time, and I don't think we realized how big a deal them not renewing this Netflix deal was back in 2019, but now it just really shows, because the CW made a big mistake. Now I don't really blame the CW entirely, because the WB productions were kind of left in a weird predicament, and that was because around 2019, that's when other streaming services really came to fruition. They started to build up, and then in 2020 we went into the lockdowns, which saw the cinemas shut down, and basically these studios, these big Hollywood studios, turned to streaming services as a new way to make money and as a new way to get people to watch their content. Now you have to realize, when a studio like Warner Brothers decided to go full on with HBO Max, what they did was they cut their licensing agreements and they stopped making money in the way that they would make money with like partnering with Netflix or like Amazon Prime. But what they would do is they would have all their own content on their own streaming service, but that would be very risky, because what that does is the only revenue that they get is from advertising, but mainly through their own subscriptions. And so if their subscriptions ever dropped, that means that they would stop making money, and this was just one number throughout the whole entirety of HBO Max. And so it wouldn't be on like a show by show basis where they would make more money or less money or something like that. It would just be a yearly, monthly thing where people can decide to cancel their subscription. And so this was a big error on WBTV's part, and I think the CW's part as well. And I think this is one of the big reasons that the CW is where it is today. I think if they renewed their agreement with Netflix at the time, I think the CW would be fine, and I don't think they would have been bought by Nexstar, and that's because there would be a good amount of money rolling in from Netflix and their special agreement, because as I said, it was very successful back in the day. It was lucrative, it made them money. And so shows during that time period who were created before the deal actually ended are still part of that deal. And so this is where we get back to All American, because shows that premiered during the 2018-2019 television season will also continue to stream on Netflix throughout their entire lifetime. This was the quote at the time, and they continued by saying, and Netflix will continue to have the subscription streaming rights to current shows like Riverdale, The Flash, and Dynasty, among other shows, because those were part of that Netflix deal back in the day before they ended it in 2019. And so that's why shows like The Flash were very profitable and very great for the CW and for Warner Brothers as well. And so as a result of the change in landscape, the move to streaming services, I think really the CW got caught in a bad place where it didn't realize it would end up being. And so this leaves us with the shows today that are on the CW. Superman Lois was not part of that deal because it came out after the deal ended. Same with All American Homecoming, same with Walker. But the only remaining show is All American that is under that Netflix deal. So it comes out on Netflix after the season ends. And you will see that this season. It will continue to do that. And there is the potential for a renewal, even if there are some budget cuts and they do cut some stuff, and maybe the show is going to be a bit different in the next season. but there is a high chance that it continues despite being more expensive than shows like Wildcards and other random shows that the CW is picking up, and that is because of this Netflix deal. So yeah, that is my reasoning for why I think All American is actually in a decent situation right now, and I think the CW will not initially straight away look to All American and be like, we gotta cut that. What they've done is they've gone to other shows like Superman Lois, Walker, and probably All American Homecoming, and they're like, yeah, no, let's cancel these shows, or let's end these shows at this point, because it's just a lot of money and we're not really benefiting from this, because after, say, Superman Lois airs, it just goes to Max, and the CW doesn't benefit from that, and that's because it's a WB-TV production. It's just part of the current deal, and so the CW doesn't benefit, unlike how they benefit with All American's deal. So that pretty much does it for this video, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. It's been a little bit of a study and a kind of showcase into what is going on behind the scenes and why I think All American is lucky compared to some of the other shows that just got unlucky that they came at the wrong time. But that pretty much does it. Leave a like and a comment if you enjoyed this video. It would really help this video get out there. Also subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future videos. But for now, you can click on the top right corner of the screen to watch my latest video, and I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.